Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast. It is a Thursday, October 26th, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not mistaken.
It was once Game 2 of the World Series between the Cubs and Cleveland.
In which the Cubs won.
First time the Cubs won a World Series game since 1945, right? That was the first.
Yeah.
That's a long time to go without a win. Hopefully we don't have to go that long again.
Luke
Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, and Cody Delmendo will be handing out some grades today. Hello to everybody in the live YouTube chat. Best way to enjoy the experience is to subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube page so you don't miss any of the shows. We got shows on every team. Poor Bulls guys last night. What a start to that season, huh?
I mean, we kind of knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, honestly, or you bring everybody back. What?
Yeah.
Of course,
we didn't even get to watch Io play important minutes. I mean, I
think we said on the
like
show.
Half the reason that I even get invested to begin with.
We said on the show it's like the best day of the season for the Bulls, and then just goes downhill.
Yep. You hope a Cubs season doesn't go like that next year. Becky says I'm an awesome person. That'll get you a 5-star review, which we might give a report card today for somebody in the live YouTube chat. We will see if we have time
Godfather
at the end of the show.
was last week. We have
5 stars. Godfather got 5 stars.
Yeah.
First
Big
5-star.
Big of us.
Big of us. Highest grade we've given out this postseason.
It is.
No players had a 5-star review or an A+ yet.
Yep.
We're going to talk about some of the front office poaching that's going on. Poor Cubs are losing guys left and right. And we're going to grade Dansby Swanson before it's over, so we got a lot to talk about. Okay, so the World Series starts on Friday. But it feels like the offseason has really sort of started for the Cubs, you know? Like
in a way.
In a way. Unofficially, it has started.
Lawrence is over here yelling at us.
Lawrence
he distracted me. Corey is supposed to be here, and he's not here.
Yeah.
He's not feeling well.
Yeah.
So feel better, Corey.
Yeah, I hope you feel better, Corey.
Yeah. So you're talking about the front office?
Just the fact that the front office changes have sort of already started, right? Like, first there was the rumor about a week ago that the Red Sox were looking at Craig Breslow, the Cubs director of pitching.
The rumor originally happened in season, didn't it?
Yeah, there was rumors that went out in season. I don't remember who tweeted it out. Some of the other beat writers were kind of disputed it in a way, just that it wasn't happening at that moment. But I think with Craig Breslow, when they hired him in 2019, he was kind of looked at as like a fast riser and someone that might eventually be looked at as a potential candidate for a top job somewhere in baseball, and he quickly worked his way up to that. So that happened in season. Nothing official obviously came of it, and then the rumors started heating up over the last few days or so, and then
now it's done.
Yeah, the
deal.
Red Sox announced officially yesterday that they had hired him to be their chief baseball officer.
Yeah, whatever that is. He's running their baseball stuff.
I would say he's going to be their Theo or their Jed.
Yeah, he's
earned it. Absolutely. He completely changed the pitching infrastructure or pitching the narrative around pitching here with the Cubs. And the Red Sox, the guy that they had, it seemed like he was a really smart guy who knew how to find young talent and everything, but I don't know. It felt like he could never make the big move.
Well, he traded Mookie Betts. Was his first.
And I don't know.
Because he was told to,
I don't follow the Red Sox like I follow the Cubs, but I don't know how much ownership has to do with that. You know what I mean? Obviously, I think as an entire organization, they have to at least regret how all that went down, and I just don't know how much you put on the front office on something like that.
They regret, I'm sure, what they got back for Mookie Betts, but if the front office tells you have to get your payroll down to this and trading Mookie Betts, they just didn't get the right guys back. Now, the problem is, what does it mean for the Cubs, right? Breslow goes to the Cubs. That in 2019 signaled the Cubs are going to make pitching a priority, right? Like the next way forward is going to be through building and improving pitching, because that was one way that they failed after 2016 was developing and finding pitchers, and they were coming at such a great price in baseball. So now he goes there. I listened to Corey and Brendan's podcast about this on Friday when it was still just a rumor that he might go to Boston. And I was surprised that the pitch doctor, Brendan, wasn't all gloom and doom over it. He wasn't.
He actually texted me to talk me off the ledge.
Yeah, he was like,
I was doom and gloom about it.
Brendan gave a bunch of numbers and graphs and heat maps and stuff, but then he spoke the truth, and he was like, listen, sometimes a new voice every 2 or 3 years isn't the worst thing. Yeah. Here's what I would say about it. Not certainly knowing nearly as much about pitching and numbers as Brendan does. Yes, this Breslow has, you could look at it and say, okay, he oversaw all of the Cubs pitching. So dozens of people are reporting to him, and he sets the narrative for what they want to do. Whatever that is, whatever those protocols are, he sets it out. It goes throughout the minor league system. It goes everywhere throughout the major league system. Every coach, every pitching coach, everybody answers to this man. Great. It does look like the Cubs have improved their pitching since 2019. I would agree with that. But let's not go all crazy on this. Now, if he starts taking too many other people from the Cubs, then I start to worry. But there's other smart guys out there. Hell, they could hire Brendan. He might be better at it than what Breslow was doing. Let's be honest. They could call Brendan up over at NASA and be like, hey, we heard you on this podcast. We saw your heat maps. Yeah. Will you be our next Craig Breslow?
What's the guy's name that got huge on Twitter that works for the Cubs now? Jeremy Frank?
Yes.
He's like a random stat.
And he put something out about how they're hiring somebody with a computer in stats and computers and analysis. Also, I was like, wow, they're speaking like it's like they're singing a love song to Brendan. They're describing him.
Yeah.
So
Jeremy Frank, that's the guy. He does data science for the Cubs.
The guy that's still at the top, right? Mm-hmm. Carter Hawkins is still the guy that helped turn around pitching for Cleveland. So you still have a guy who's had great success in finding pitching and helping developing pitching. They still know other people. Yeah. Craig Breslow is not the only pitching mind out there, okay?
No, and I think there's also like a part where because he's obviously been huge as far as turning around the pitching infrastructure since he's been here.
Right.
And you're starting to see some of the fruits of that labor over the last couple of years, as far as like Justin Steele, Adbert, even guys like Daniel Palencia and Luke Little moving up the system pretty fast and making their debut. So you're starting to see it. But as good as Breslow is, like, and who knows who leaves with him to Boston, right? But there are going to be people that are still in whether the front office, the player development department, whoever, that have learned a lot, obviously, from Craig Breslow on how to do what they're doing. Like, he's not the one going and doing every single thing. Like, there are people that were working with him that have learned as far as, like, what he's implemented and with his oversight on how to improve it. So there are still going to be people in the organization with the knowledge of how this infrastructure works and how and the system and the organization. So losing Craig Breslow is obviously, like, it hurts them, like, because he's a very good, trusted baseball mind, especially for Jed Hoyer and in the baseball ops department. But it's not the end of the world to lose him, because there are still going to be people here in Chicago and at Wrigley Field in the Cubs organization that have some of that same knowledge, because he was able to, from working with him, and he was able to show them how to start turning this around. And we've seen the dividends. So it's not only because of Craig Breslow. There are people there that can help, or they should be confident there are people there that can help, sustain the improvements and stuff. Right. And whoever they promote or hire next to fill that role, like you said, like Brendan said, like, sometimes getting a different voice in there is not a bad thing either.
And let's be honest, are the three of us or anybody in the live chat outside of Brendan Miller going to see an obvious difference on opening day next year in the pitching infrastructure? Probably not. This doesn't mean, because he's gone, doesn't mean, like you said, Ryan, everybody else is gone. So it doesn't mean that on opening day, Gary from the live chat's going to be in charge of the pitching infrastructure, and he's going to show up at spring training and be like, hey, guys, we're going to put Slaughter in charge of pitching. We're going to convert him now, and he's going to be our ace. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw the ball like a softball this year. I mean, you know what I mean? I can't tell you what he did totally different other than he made the pitching better. They expanded the amount of people that were looking into this. They had more smart minds than they ever did before. They had more resources going into figuring out ways to make pitchers better than they ever did before. The pitch lab, all of that stuff. That doesn't mean that stuff can't continue under a new voice.
Yeah. I mean,
what if the new voice is Tommy Hotovy?
I mean, Tommy Hotovy is a guy that this organization can't lose, in my opinion.
He's been here since
2014. He's been here for a a long time. He's a guy, and I'm
not
not just saying that because we've had him on the podcast and he wears Jordan 1s like I do. But
he lasted.
He's very smart.
He lasted through the end of the Joe Madden pod.
That's right. He's a carryover.
Yeah.
So
I guess for me, the only thing that kind of worries me related to Breslow is just like this organization for so long was bad at developing pitching. And I know it's just one guy, and you guys have explained this. But anything that can teeter it into the wrong direction makes me feel uneasy. So I guess for me, it's one of those wait and see things. But I will say, and I'm going with the chat here, if the Mets hire Dan Kantrovitz, I don't think there's anything anyone can say to me that I'm not going to be irrationally upset.
Which is what John Morosi of MLB Network tweeted, that the Mets are having discussions about trying to hire him for a high-level job. And my apologies to Gary. I hope I didn't get the impression wrong. I thought I nailed the voice. I can't remember.
He says fire Luke.
Fire Luke. Let's be honest, Gary. You'd like to see Slaughter converted to a pitcher.
You do.
If anybody was going to suggest it, Gary Ross.
I wish they would have called up Slaughter for the very last
Get him
game
to the
of
big
year.
leagues.
Whatever gets Slaughter to the big leagues is Gary's on board.
Could be the next Carlos Marmol. You never know. Converted. Dan Kantrovitz. So would that be a bigger deal for you than Breslow?
Do we have the tweet?
From Morosi,
John Morosi tweet?
Can you show it? Thank you.
Yeah, so from John Morosi.
The Mets
per a source, the Mets have had discussions about hiring Dan Kantrovitz for a high-level position overseeing their amateur scouting and player development departments. Kantrovitz is currently the Cubs vice president of scouting. That's from John Morosi on Twitter.
I'm
I would
scared.
hurt too.
I'm scared. Legitimately, I'm scared.
Really?
I think. I think it's kind of a similar situation. Right? He's a trusted mind in that department, and what his first draft was 2020. I think the first round pick was Ed Howard. 21 was Jordan Wicks. 22 was Cade Horton, who he was very confident in, even when most of social media was like, "Why would you pick this guy at number 7?" Right? And Cade Horton has developed into, one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. And this year is Matt Shaw first round, and Matt Shaw he finished the year in Double-A, if I'm not mistaken. He's moving up the ladder
already a
pretty
top
quickly.
100 guy.
So Dan Kantrovitz is he's a very important mind in that department, right? So losing him would hurt too, for sure. But I kind of feel about the same way, is that if you're Jed Hoyer and like Carter Hawkins, and you have built the organization through and through in a healthy way, like losing Dan Kantrovitz will hurt, but you should be confident that you have still the people that do remain. Again, similar knowledge. Like, it's not Dan Kantrovitz isn't scouting all these guys himself. Like, he has scouts everywhere that are giving him information. And yeah, he ultimately makes the final call, but he has a lot of people helping him out and finding these guys, discovering guys wherever they are, and giving them the information on which draft picks he should make, when and where. So again,
hopefully he doesn't take all of them with him.
Yeah, but there's a reason he's the head of the department. Yeah. But losing him, if you have the right foundation for that department and the player development and scouting and all that, I'm not saying you're going to be able to replace it, but you're going to have people that still have that same knowledge of how he worked and how they were able to find some of these draft picks that look very promising and can hopefully one day make it to Wrigley Field. And so you're not. I don't see the foundation of that crumbling because the guy at the top left. Like, you have to replace him somehow and hope that you pick the right person next. But there's still a foundation there of people that work with him and his oversight that can help at least keep it built up until you find that next guy to help run it.
It's not like he found his way with the Cubs. He was doing what he's been doing with the Cubs, with the Cardinals, and the Oakland Athletics. Like, this guy has been around, and he's been doing it, right? And it's kind of like, in some ways, it's just like what I just said with Breslow. It's like this organization had some bad years of drafting, and that's why the core ended up getting sent away, and we had like the end was just so bad because they were so bad at developing players, not just pitching, but just overall players too. And it's just like these last 3 years we've seen from the draft just how much better the organization has been. So you are correct in the fact that like Canterverse isn't scouting all these dudes and everything. It's just I will say that I think this is potentially a bigger loss than Breslow, just because like they struggled with just not just like they used to just be, oh, we'll get the first round pick right, but then the rest of the draft we would suck. They've been doing, it's been overall they've done well throughout a draft. They've taken guys that have high upside that can potentially be at Wrigley Field one day, that at least you feel like confident about it at least. And this is just like, I guess this, if anything, if I were to just be in the middle, it's annoying because this is supposed to be the biggest offseason since like the 2015 winter. All right, like almost a decade. It's supposed to be the biggest offseason, and instead we are dealing with potentially losing like multiple front office members, and they gotta fix that.
Two things on that though. Number one is, if you don't want Dan Cantervitz to go take a job with the Mets, and you hear that they're talking about hiring him, how do you stop that? How does any employer stop that? You give the guy a raise. Yeah. You give the guy more money. That's how you stop him. If you really value that person so much, then you just go give him a raise. Right. Now, Breslow was from Boston, played in Boston. His family's in Boston. He still lived in Boston.
And he took a higher position.
And he took a higher position. Now, Cantervitz might too. We don't know. But the one way you can keep the guy is to say, whatever they're offering you, throw another $10,000 on it this year, and that, whatever it is. You know what If you don't really want to lose the guy, there are ways to still go about doing that. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Number two is, I think if you want to look glass half full, is excuse me. Who was it? Somebody in the chat said it, and I was about to say it. I can't remember who said it now. I don't see him. Oh, Christian A. Look at it glass half full, Cody. It's a good sign that all of a sudden teams are poaching the Cubs front office for these types of moves. 15 years ago, nobody was poaching the Cubs front office because nobody was trying to get in. Like, hey, did you guys notice what the Cubs are doing with pitching? We better go ahead and get so-and-so and so-and-so. It wasn't happening. Now, other teams are looking at the Cubs and saying, we kind of like what we see, what they're doing behind the scenes. We're going to do that too. Now, if it's the Mets, let's say it's the Mets, the danger for the Mets is they might be now trying to realize, okay, we can't just buy our championship. We can still keep doing that. But if we combine that with doing what the Cubs are doing, these smart things behind the scenes, now we're cooking with oil, which is what the Cubs should be doing. Spending like the Mets or a little bit below the Mets and continuing to do what they're doing and spending money in other ways. So it is a good sign. I do feel good that at least other teams are like, we got to get that guy from the Cubs. Whereas what's to stop the Cubs from right now saying, hey, who's that guy working for the Diamondbacks that found Corbin Carroll? Who's that guy that found so-and-so? You know, that guy exists at other organizations too, and it doesn't stop the Cubs from replacing Dan Cantervitz or Craig Breslow with a rising star at another organization who might be that new voice that Brendan is talking about. So it's not necessarily gloom and doom.
Yeah, that was my initial thought. Obviously, when Breslow was hired by the Red Sox, and obviously these are discussions? They've discussed hiring Dan Cantervitz to the Mets, so he's definitely not out the door yet. But that was my first thought was, that's a good thing. It's not a good thing if you're losing guys, right? But it's a good thing.
Good
that
sign.
Other teams,
It's a good sign
that other teams want your top level guys because they see they see value in what they have done in your organization, which means the guys at the top, very tippy top, Jed, Carter, that the guys they're identifying as guys they want to fill their vice president roles or assistant GM roles, whoever, that they're identifying the right guys to help build the organization the right way. That makes other teams want to take them and help them build the organizations the right way. So, yeah, good sign is a good way to put it that obviously they've lost Breslow. If they lose Kantrowitz, they're going to have to replace him. But the fact that other teams want these guys and are giving them promotions is a good sign that, hey, the guys at the top know what they're doing when they're identifying some of these guys that they want to hire. Will it always work out? Not always. But the fact that Craig Breslow got a promotion to the top job in Boston, don't know what Dan Kantrowitz might get from the Mets if he even leaves. But the fact that, again, other teams are buying them means you can have some confidence that, hey, maybe Jed and Carter know what they're doing when they're bringing some of these guys in.
And while I'm thankful for the job as a Cubs fan that Craig Breslow did and has done the right things, it still goes to the top realizing who to hire, who to replace him, and what to do moving forward. It's about resources for these people. So
Fair.
Go hire the next Craig Breslow then, or a guy who's doing a job. Listen, it's not like the Cubs have the best pitching in all of baseball. It's not like it was Magic Wand Monday here at CHGO or Wild Thought Wednesday, and he just waved, and all of a sudden the Cubs had 5 aces and every good reliever. It's been a nice turn from really bad to working their way up to being a team that's noticed to be better at pitching. It's not like things were flawless. They still didn't identify certain guys in scouting that some of it worked, some of it did not. We've talked about many of the failures that have been here before. Some guys they couldn't fix. So it's not like everything has been perfect with the data that they've had, but it's better than it was before. Sure. So just find the next phase that.
Fine.
Just you don't have to go on the ledge, man. It's
okay.
The guys at those levels are out there, or they're rising up the systems too. Like
another way to look at it is, and this isn't really fair to Dan Kantrowitz or Craig Breslow. What exactly did you win with those two guys in charge? Now, you might be on the path to winning with those two guys, but I'm saying right now we haven't even made the playoffs.
Yeah, well, they hired them in the middle of a freaking rebuild.
That's right. So
or whatever. Like
I'm just saying it's not as black and white as we are screwed. This means nothing. It's probably somewhere in between.
Yeah.
It is definitely a good sign that other teams are looking at the Cubs.
I agree with that.
It just all depends on the actions the front office takes after this. Obviously Breslow, but if they do lose Kantrowitz, it all relies on what the front office does after to respond.
And Michael Collada's right. If you go ahead and sign Shohei, I'm not as worried about scouting.
Well, listen, like I
am still worried about scouting, but
I just don't want the organization to go from being as good as they've been at finding and scouting talent and turning Julian Merriweather into a great reliever,
right,
to the other direction. I just obviously it takes more than one guy to do that, but those guys are a big part of finding those. I know that we haven't won anything with them here, but if you just look back at where the organization was in 2019 or before 2019, it's just like in terms of like all the stuff outside of the actual major league team at that time, it's bad. It was bad, and I just don't want that to change because these two dudes and everyone else around them are the only thing that have given me any kind of real optimism and hope over the last 2 years.
Which is why they're being poached by another team.
Yeah. I don't think losing these two will cause whatever foundations they've built to crumble. But if the Cubs don't respond the right way, they would. So I could see where you're coming from. If they don't respond and hire the right people, it won't help. Yeah. Obviously, losing those two. But again, where I come from is like the Cubs did identify these two as.
If they can identify them,
Yeah,
then
they can
They'll
identify the next
identify.
guys,
They
you know?
already know who the next guy is. And baseball seems to be changing so quickly. Michael Cerami, I think, said it this week on our podcast. I thought it was a good point. What worked for contracts or trades 2 or 3 years ago doesn't work today. Everything is changing so quickly in baseball, whether it's the idea for what you're doing with pitching, how you're approaching your pitching staff or building your infrastructure. All of it seems to be changing as fast as internet is right now, right? Like every day there's a new, one day it's TikTok, the next day it's this thing. That's just how baseball is too. Things are changing that quickly. So find the next guy from Yale that wants to find you the next Facebook or MySpace.
A Luke TikTok reference on this podcast.
Who would have thought?
I would never thought I'd see the day.
TikTok. Time for our Hero bread read. Let me tell you about Hero. That's something that's not going out of style. It's new on the market. And here, I started using Hero bread because I thought to myself, I'd like a little more fiber and protein in my diet. Well, I'm getting it from bread and tortillas, less carbs. So here's what I like to do. Hero bread makes this amazing. They make amazing tortillas, 0 net carbs. I like to make fajitas with it. And then when I want my extra protein, which also is in the tortillas, I also throw in some of Charlie the Bacon Guy's bacon jam, and then that makes my fajitas extra special. So I'm not necessarily a carb counter, but these are lower carb options. The taste and texture, really what make them different. It's soft, it's fluffy, the bread. You bite into that and you're like, first of all, forget, in my opinion, I bit into it the first time and I thought, I don't care about whatever. This could have the most carbs in the history of the world in it. I would still eat this. Instead, it's very carb friendly. This could be 0 fiber. Instead, it's got some fiber in it. So it's got everything that you want, plus the great taste and texture. And by the way, you can get a discount on it by using the code CHGO at hero.co.
Woo.
They make sliced bread, buns, and tortillas available right now at hero.co and on Amazon as well. Fewer calories than the leading national brand, 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Right now, Hero Bread offering our CHGO family 10% off their first order. Just go to hero.co, that's hero.co, and use the code CHGO to save on Hero Bread today. That's hero.co to save 10% today. You can do all of that. You can order your Hero Bread while you're buying your next flooring. Why not? You know how to update your place? New flooring changes it like that. You walk into a place, you're like, oh, wow, that's kind of dingy. What can we do with this place? Some people throw a bunch of paint. Some people are tearing down walls because they think they're HGTV and they're remapping the whole house and it's gutted down to the studs, and then they find all kinds of problems. You know what you could do? Just change your flooring. It'll change your spirit.
Can you sing the jingle for me?
588-2300. Not the same place. Not the same place. Not the same place. What do you mean?
I thought it was. No, I heard Peck sing it on Bulls postgame last night.
You're thinking of something else.
It's the same song.
It's the same song.
Right? It's the same song. My whole life I lived with it.
Yeah.
588-2300.
And he's pretty old.
Empire. And then when they got bigger, it became 800-588-2300.
Yeah. And he's pretty old, so like he's probably heard that commercial.
I've been singing that song since I was like 5 years old.
Mr.
I mean,
Empire.
I know exactly. I don't think of the man in the graphic. I think of the actual man. But his name, now you're really pressing my brain.
Just don't listen to me.
I wouldn't have got that.
I don't do these ad reads.
No.
I wouldn't have got that.
I was gonna say.
But 588-2300 is about as Chicago as you can get.
Sure.
You can't get more Chicago than that jingle.
Oh no.
Can't get more Chicago than that. And here's what they do. They make shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is on purpose. It's just as important as what they put in it. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles for you. Try their virtual floor design. Great way to see the new floors in any space, what they'll look like before it happens. And shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. Heck, you might be talking to a guy about flooring who was working in plumbing the other day. What good is that going to get you? Not much. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive wait a minute, is this right? $350 off? $350 off? Now you're talking my language.
Yep.
A $350 discount when you use the promo code CHGO. That's right, CHGO for $350 off. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. 588-2300.
Empire today.
Yeah.
You've always ever.
I didn't know the man's name, but he's a legend.
Absolutely.
You go Bob Rohrman, you go the Empire Carpet guy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Probably two of the biggest,
Just
legend. Yeah.
And the OxyClean guy.
You remember the old
the jingles or the ends of jingles that you know.
What was the Eagle commercial where the eagle falls down on the car? Eagle Man. Now that was a big one too.
Okay.
Sorry.
Check out those low rates. This eagle lands on top of a car. Not as good as Empire Carpet.
Oh man,
Can we get
what an impression?
I need a picture of Luke doing that, and I'm going to use it
Check
for
out those low rates.
I'm going to use that as part of the no context CHGO Sports.
All
Twitter
the old
account I'm
people
gonna
out there know what I'm talking. I guarantee you, Barb knows. I guarantee you, Barb and Michael Collada can sing that. Gary can sing it. Sing that Empire theme song, and they know Eagle Man too. Check it up. Google it one time. You'll see it. It's quite the ad. All right, are we going to grade Dansby Swanson, or should we do we better do a super chat first?
Well, it is
related
a grade.
to Dansby.
It's related to Dansby. So Chris gets our first grade.
$9.99.
Super chat, $9.99. Dansby is an A because he has the highest F4 of all the free agent shortstops, and he's probably going to win the Gold Glove. I'm going to earn that 5-star, baby. That's a play for it. That's right. See, because
that's how you get
super
5
chats
stars.
get you toward that 5-star.
Get
See,
ready.
Chris knows,
No
and it's not
question
the
about
first
it.
time he sent one. I feel like he sends one at least once a show. If it's not every show, he does it at least 3 times a week.
He's trying to get that 5 stars.
Yeah.
By the way, another great Chicago commercial, old school. Hi, I'm Earl Scheib. I'll paint any car, any color, $99.95. That's any car, any color, $99.95. Guy would paint cars for $100. How about that deal?
All right.
Hey, it's the Eagle
Awesome.
Man. See, I told you. Barb, Gary doesn't know.
Before we get to revealing the grades, shall we discuss, will Godfather be mad at us?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, the grade's going to be too high for the Godfather?
Absolutely.
For Dansby Swanson?
Dansby
sure.
Swanson, he's going C.
Yeah.
Godfather, what are you giving?
Godfather's gonna
He
tell
gave
me
a
that.
C- earlier.
He gave
Oh,
Dansby
he said
Swanson a C-?
Yeah, here, let me find it. It was earlier in the show he wrote it.
Put that one up on the screen.
Oh, man. Oh, now he's definitely going to be mad then.
Yeah.
Are we ready to reveal?
What do we got?
Are we going to show them all at once? So
Yeah,
I
might
went
as
A-, Cody A, Ryan A. So I went the lowest score. Tell me why you guys went A.
Shall I start?
Go ahead.
All right, so I went with an A because he lived up to the contract in year 1. I don't care that he did not hit as well in the final month and a half, but they are not anywhere near the possible chance of making the playoffs without him.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've said all year, he's like if this guy doesn't win the Gold Glove for shortstop in the National League, it's a travesty, and we should all legitimately riot outside beautiful historic Wrigley Field if he doesn't. I think his as far as intangibles and stuff, I do think he is a leader in the locker room. You could see that, or else this team would have really fell apart. And I do like the fact that he went to Jed before the deadline and was like, we shouldn't sell. Like, we're trying to be a winning team here. We're trying to grow something here, right?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do that, I don't know if he still sells or not. I mean, it's to me, it's still kind of wild that the Mike Tauchman catch in St. Louis is the sole reason that Jed decided to not sell. But it was a big part. It was a big part. All right,
it played a part.
But yes, I give him an A because if you look at the numbers on Fangraphs or Baseball Reference, whatever, is pretty much what he's been his entire career. Did he live up to 177 million or whatever in this market? Yeah, I do think he lived up to the contract for 1 year at least in this market. And I think once this team adds the one or two more big bats that we've talked about what they need, his bat will be better. There won't be too many slumps. He was asked a lot to do a lot offensively, and that's just never been he's never been like the best hitting shortstop in baseball. There's a reason that he was the cheapest one, but also the only one that truly wanted to come to the Cubs. So it's just kind of like, I think that he lived up to everything you could have asked for in year one. And I think anyone who is down on this guy, nothing triggers me more than seeing people compare this guy to Jason Hayward. Like, as far as a bat, nothing triggers me more. So you really want to trigger me, that'll get it done. Because it's a clear sign that you haven't been watching. He was everything that we were sold on him. There was nothing that he did that surprised us. Okay, you want something? In September, he had a couple bad plays. All right, I'm not saying he was perfect, and maybe for that, maybe I should move it down to an A-, but he still showed up and did exactly what you paid him to do. How can I go lower than an A-, if he literally did everything that you asked him to do? And with all the narrative of how, like, when the Cubs sign major free agents, they always suck in year one. He didn't suck this year.
So why is he the biggest hot button name on the team?
Because how September went.
Just look at our chat. We have a grade from as high as A+ to F-. We have the full scale of grades. We have people saying B. We have Collada saying B because he wasn't clutch enough.
He said nobody gets an A until they win a division.
Okay.
That's what the Godfather
I'm just
said.
saying, but do we have any other player on the Cubs that will get an A and an F in the live YouTube chat? I'm not saying the F. I'm not saying the F- is right. I'm just saying if you name a Cubs player, you will not get a more roller coaster ride of reactions than you will with Dansby Swanson. I think it's just because of $177 million. I think it's just a big contract.
Could be.
But that's not even that big of a contract anymore.
It goes back to like what Cerami said the other day on here about how fans have this, they remember like these certain moments of like the guy that what particular player has, and if it's good or bad. And okay, yeah, towards the end of the year, he had some bad plays. I'm not saying that he was perfect. And that's why people are grading him. They're grading him on 1 month.
Yeah, well, I look at it, and then it's kind of to your point what Cerami said, that like he did struggle with the last month or so with the bat, right? Like he did have his struggles down the stretch as the Cubs obviously collapsed, and that piled on, right? Like Dansby struggling while the Cubs struggled, helped pile on, and then he made a few errors, had a couple missed plays, and that piled on. So they had this idea, like just, I think, yeah, that last month is like what people are going to remember because it's the end of the season, and it happened at the same time that the Cubs, collapsed down the stretch. But I think he had a great season overall, right? And he was obviously an all-star. He's going to win the Gold Glove. Like he has the most defensive runs saved of any shortstop. He has the most outs above average of any defender. Like he is as elite a defender as you get in baseball right now. And he showed that for the vast majority of the season. The vast majority of this season. Do you wish the offense was a little better? Sure, but he did have his second best walk rate of his career. He's had his lowest strikeout rate since 2019. The weighted on base average is about similar to his last two All-Star seasons. His expected weighted on base average was even higher than the last two his All-Star seasons, or his All-Star, and then obviously the World Series season in 21. So he had a great season, and yes, the contract stuff too. He made, what was it, $27 million, something like that, AAV at least, and I think he surpassed that. You look at he was a 5-WAR player if you're looking at Fangraphs. Like he had a great season that the last couple weeks of the season struggling when honestly the entire team struggled, like that doesn't knock him off the pedestal for me as far as like he just had a really, really good season. And one that when the Cubs are, obviously the Cubs should bring in other players, right? Like I think the offense was also like he's never been the best offensive player on a team, right? When the Braves
we knew that coming in.
That's what I'm saying. The Braves were never. When the Braves were winning, and obviously they won the World Series 2 years ago. Like he wasn't the best offensive player on any of those teams. Like he's not this elite guy with the bat. He's an elite glove, but he's going to give you above average production with the bat. Like that's what he's been.
He's a terrific all around baseball player.
That's what he gave you.
He gives you a little bit of everything.
And I think,
and the fielding.
Well, I think if the Cubs do what they need to do this offseason and bring in a bat or two, obviously, like if they re-sign Cody Bellinger, that takes care of one of those, but like improve the lineup, improve the roster, then you're not asking Dansby Swanson to be one of your best offensive players anymore. And I think that was another part that clouded some minds about Dansby Swanson and his performance, which is he's going to give you elite defense. That's what they signed him for. And he's going to give you an above-average bat. He's not going to be your best hitter. He probably shouldn't be expected to be your best hitter. And I think if the Cubs can do what they need to do this offseason, it'll make – obviously it's going to make the lineup work a lot better, but then you're not asking much more than what Dansby Swanson's ever given a team in his career, right? Like he can still give you above-average production at offense, but you're not asking him to be your best hitter anymore if they do what they need to do.
If it was just expectations, there's no question for me it would be a straight A. Because like you said, everything he gave the Cubs this season was as advertised to when they signed him. Kelly Kroll told us last offseason he's going to be a tremendous leader. Yeah. He's going to be a guy that is at the ballpark first, shows everybody how to do their work, make sure you get it in, and do it the right way. All those things, check, check, check. He's going to be a spectacular shortstop with the glove. I don't know if we've ever seen a better shortstop in Cubs history, to be honest with you.
We thought Javi was so great over there.
Defensively, Dansby's better than Javi.
Yeah.
May not make us play quite as spectacular as Javi, but he makes the routine ones way more often than Javi did.
He's much more consistent.
Way more consistent.
And then especially over a long period of time.
He makes the tough plays, but he makes all the easy ones.
Yes. He deserves the Gold Glove, again, at shortstop. So all of those things, as advertised. Even Mike Dubbs in the chat is saying maybe a B. The only reason I'm not giving Dansby Swanson an A or an A+ for what he did, I'm only going to give an A+ to somebody if they win MVP, pretty much.
Or Cy Young.
Because I'm a grumpy old man. But the only reason I didn't give him just a perfect A is exactly what you're saying. There were slumps. Now, that's as advertised, too. Kelly Kroll also told us there will be slumps offensively. He is not most players are. He's not a perfect steady line when it comes to his at-bats. He will go through some slumps. He will go through some stretches where he strikes out a lot.
Yeah. His April was probably the best he played with the bat. That was probably the best month he had. And I'm basing that just off the eye test and my memory. But I think that he was a big part of leading them to not selling at the deadline. He came back from the injury after the All-Star break, and he got red hot at the end towards the mid to end July and into August, and then the slump came in mid-August and continued into September. He had some big hits in September, I'll say that. He also had some bad moments defensively and a lot of moments where there were runners on base and he couldn't drive them in. Again, like to my point, and Ryan already made it too, basically, is that if he's hitting 6th or 7th in your lineup, he's probably going to have better numbers. And that's basically what he was for the Braves before in his walk year.
It's not his fault that he's batting where he is or being counted on in this offense to do the things. I give him an A- because I think if you went to Dansby Swanson and said, what grade do you get? Dansby Swanson would be the first one to say A- B, because he's a perfectionist, which is what I want out of that guy. He wants to be the best. He wants the Cubs to be the absolute best. So he will look in the mirror after this season, and I have absolute faith in this, just having listened to his sound bites, that he will look at this offseason when he approaches it in his offseason workouts, and he will say, man, when they needed me most in September, I couldn't come through in a couple of those big at-bats. Why did I drop that ball that looked like I should have had at shortstop? Why? And that's what will beat him up.
Yeah.
So A- is still a spectacular grade. It's just an A with, man, if I'd have done a few more things, we might have won that one game that got us into the postseason and took us to the World Series instead of the Diamondbacks. I don't know if that's true, but that's what Dansby Swanson's thinking this offseason, and that's what I want. So I'm somewhere between an A and an A-. I went A- because I think the player himself would have said, I had a good season, but I could have had a better season.
Yeah, that's very fair, and I think that's the mentality that obviously your highest paid player, you want to see that.
Yep.
But that's just the mentality that when I'm in there and I'm like just observing the clubhouse or I'm out on the field and seeing the way he interacts with guys, young guys, veterans, whoever it is, like his mentality of like winning is the only. Cause I think he said that at his intro press conference, is like the only stat that matters is wins, something like that.
So his grade actually would be incomplete, maybe,
which is
what
fair,
he would give himself.
But as far as the leadership value that he gives you, like it's when we talked about Kyle Hendricks a couple days ago, that you can't measure that, you can't know about it unless you see it or you hear people talk about it, and the way you observe Dansby Swanson, the way you hear his teammates or his coaches talk about it, even Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins, the leadership that he provides coming from an organization like Atlanta, like that's huge for a team trying to figure out their identity and figure out how to get back to winning consistently. And to have that in the clubhouse is just a tremendous value in itself. And then what he gives you on the field obviously matters too. But like that for me, that boosted the grade because, like I said with Kyle, that I myself value the leadership thing more than maybe most people do. But I think it matters, and it matters to the guys in that clubhouse, and that's why my grade is a little higher than yours. I think I just value that more than you do, but I think it matters.
A-, we're splitting hairs. To be honest
I think
with
it
you.
matters.
Like, if I got an A or an A-, if I got an A- in school, I wouldn't be like, man, I didn't get an A. That's still an A.
Yeah.
I did a poll on the YouTube chat. Does Dansby Swanson deserve an A? And there's 21 votes, 53 watching, so everyone go vote. And so far we have 62% yes and 38% no.
I tell you,
there you go.
The 38%, I don't know. Like, I would look you straight in the face and be like, what is wrong with you?
it's
Well,
like
we know
it's
what
like,
the Godfather
it's like Bears
voted.
quarterback. You're going to get the same.
Outside of the Godfather. But the Godfather, like, he ain't giving anyone an A unless they win the division. So if that's your scale, fine. But, like, I think most people are grading based off I think most people are grading based off the recency bias. I genuinely feel like that because outside of a few moments in September and how the Cubs fell out of the race, I don't see how anyone could say that this guy didn't have a fantastic year.
Well, Craig's asking, he's like, is he coming on the show or something next week? I gave him an A-. He outplayed all the other shortstops that were in free agency.
Yeah.
He's going to win the Gold Glove. Again, the minus is for the late season failures when you needed your star player to carry you. There were a few times he didn't come through.
Yeah.
But I can't ruin the guy's whole season because he didn't field one ball at shortstop or
again, like
hit a game-winning home run. That's what I would like out of him, but he's not Aaron Judge. Would he have 2 home runs less than he did last year, which was his season high?
He had 25 last year and then 22 this year. Yeah.
Okay. Couple less.
So a couple less, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's not the guy that should be carrying your offense. Like,
No.
and
he didn't
He's
never
the guy
he
that's
never carried the
carrying
offense
your
for the Braves.
defense.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And again, yeah, like we mentioned, he had
He's one half of the best double play duo in baseball.
Yeah.
Like,
Gold
and
Glove
that's not
duo,
even like
likely.
an exaggeration. That's literal facts.
I don't argue with, like Craig says B+. I'm okay if somebody wants to give him a B+. It's when people start saying C, D, F that I'm just, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I don't understand that.
Say if you are lower than a B, then like I just don't understand. I'm not trying to say that anyone who thinks whatever is wrong, whatever. I have read a lot of slander to this about this guy over the last month, and it makes me irrationally angry. It legitimately makes me irrationally angry because y'all don't want to freaking you just don't want to like be happy about something because, like, we went from Andrelton Simmons to this guy. And they moved Nico over to second base. All right? Like,
That's fair.
I'm not now. I can't
No
talk.
offense to Simmons.
Can't get his words out.
We went from old washed Andrelton Simmons to Dansby Swanson, and he was the most valuable shortstop on the free agent market from last year's free agent market. And the team itself, as much as September pains me, it took massive strides this year. It took massive strides, and he was a big part of it. Like if they add a few more bats, like we keep saying, he is going to be much better offensively next year.
You know where else we could take strides? Financially at CIRCA Sportsbook. And I know, you know who does that? Cody Delmendo. Nobody does it better than Cody Delmendo.
Sure.
He's been known to throw down a wager or two every night.
And in the morning,
Did you guys see my tweet
And
last
in
night?
the morning,
how
then
I
in the
lost-
afternoon, and sometimes in the late afternoon.
Did you see my tweet last night about how I lost every single
I
bet
did
on the
see
Bulls
that.
game? I
Yeah.
lost every
Actually,
single bet on the Bulls game.
I did go to the Bulls box scores just to see like if some of Cody's hit, and I was like, well, that didn't work. Didn't you have one on LeBron too?
Well, that was 2 nights ago.
Yeah, and how did that go?
That one went.
Oh, that one won.
I needed
Just
him to
enough
go.
rebound. You got one. Just enough rebounds, right?
Yeah, 8. He had
Yeah,
8. And
exactly
he had,
8.
He had to go over 7.5. But I had Zach LaVine over 2.5 threes. He had 2, so I missed by a half point.
Wah, wah.
I needed
Vooch.
I needed Vooch points, rebounds, and assists. Missed by like 6. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander over 5.5 rebounds. He had 5. But hey, that's gambling, right? And you could do it all at CIRCA Sportsbook, and you could be smarter, better than me at CIRCA Sportsbook. It's not hard to do because everyone online just loves to tell me how dumb I am, especially Ryan.
I don't tell you that online.
You'll tell me that in person. You'll tell me that when we get off set. All right. But CIRCA Sportsbook, outside of the actual gambling part, there's 3 things that makes them, the best or among the best at least. They have tight money line splits. Games will strive to be minus 110 splits on CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sports books, which may use minus 115, minus 120, which can be really annoying because that would force you to maybe put down a little bit more money than you want to. Minus 110 is almost even. Ideally, that's what most people want. CIRCA Sports does not limit players based on their winnings. So if you get on a hot streak, which, today's a new day. I'm starting a new hot streak today. That's the mentality you got to have. But at CIRCA, if you are on a hot streak, they don't limit players. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. They encourage bettors to download and explore all sports betting apps available, but CIRCA will not take anything away from you though. Based on your winnings. So, and then finally, their customer service is far none. It's one of the best because you're not talking to chatbots like a lot of these other books do. CIRCA, they connect you with someone straight from their resort and casino
Real
in
people.
Las Vegas, which also you should check out because it is a beautiful place. If I could live there, I would. Beautiful hotel, beautiful casino, great sports book, and Stadium Swim is honestly a place that I would live if they let me, and I could do this show remotely from my computer by their pool every single day.
Have your sunny side just delivered straight to the
and
pool,
have sunny side delivered
along with
straight
a
to the
burger
pool.
and fries, and maybe
Yes.
312.
That would be the dream. That would be the dream. So you can be that person. Download the CIRCA Sports app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also be on the lookout for CIRCA events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, text GAMB to 833-234, or visit areyourreallywinning.com. Maybe I will do that if I lose more bets. But the winning streak starts today. It's day 21 of 50 straight days of football. We have more NBA action tonight. We have the rest of the college football slate this weekend.
World
the
Series.
NFL, the World Series. The winning streak starts tonight.
We were also gonna throw out a report card here in the third segment for Julian Merriweather, but let's save that as a hot tease for next week.
Sure.
It's a hot tease, baby.
Yeah, it's a hot tease for next week's show.
People are going to come. I've been waiting to hear about Julian Merriweather.
How could I? You're gonna make me wait 3 days for that grade, Stuckmeyer?
Yeah.
You're right. That's
Yeah,
exactly
we
what
are.
I'm gonna do. 4 days to be exact.
are.
I've been waiting to hear about Sunnyside.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, shit.
That's really what I want to hear
me.
about.
Sorry. I forgot I had to read this one too. Sunnyside is one of the great, like I said, I'd sit at Stadium Swim, have and have my Sunnyside with me because it's the best. It's your home for judgment-free campus shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, to discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside is everything you need to elevate your football season or any season, honestly. No matter where you are on your cannabis journey, they have easy online ordering and in-store pickup with a great transparent loyalty program called Sunnyside Rewards. It is Illinois' favorite dispensary. Some of the favorites include Mindy's, the best tasting gummy and chocolate edibles created by James Beard award-winning chef Mindy Siegel and Cresco Labs. Good News, which is gummies of rechargeable vape pen and can't be in cart, perfect for great moments with the crew. If I can only read perfectly. Cresco, High Supply, Florical, Wonder, and a lot more, guys. It's a house of brands. It's right up there with some of the greatest things in this world. All right. So through October 31st, head to sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. That's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your football season. Must be 21 plus or an Illinois Med card holder. And since it is Thursday,
Sunnyside Thursday,
we have to, who's the Chicago sports athlete that's making us feel
giving
good?
you the feels this week.
Yeah, it's giving me the
probably
feels.
Deontay Foreman.
Deontay
Made me feel good
Oh,
this week.
wow, yeah, especially if you played him in fantasy.
It's not Tyson Bagent.
No, Deontay Foreman had 30 points in
Mark
fantasy.
Carmen's making me feel all kinds
I'd
of
say
ways.
it's Tyson Bagent.
Can he be the guy like Mark Carmen in his Bagent songs and stuff?
I got
his
one. How about Cole Komet? He was here in studio.
True.
Yeah,
I was just about to say Cole Komet.
Yeah. Just don't comment on Carm's routes.
Even though he didn't really do anything last game, but Cole Komet.
He's a great blocker, though.
Deontay Foreman had a good game as a
Dante Foreman, Tyson
emergency
Bagent.
running back.
Yeah.
The Bulls didn't make me feel too
Not
great.
the Bulls.
The Bulls
that's for
intros.
Sure. The Bulls intro song.
Actually, you know
Yeah.
what? So, sat my son down, 2 years old, to watch the Bulls intros, and he was locked on it. Never seen it
Nice.
before, and he was just like locked on. I'm like, here comes the big song. I'm going to tell you, I was a little disappointed in the intros last night. I was cool with the orchestra thing. No energy out of the players whatsoever. They're all coming out just like halfway. Give me a little Ray Lewis on opening night, like right? Give me a little something.
Yeah.
Act like you're at least excited then.
That game was over whenever Zach LaVine did his
turnover in the first 5 plays of the game, first 5 possessions.
No, it was like, you know how they always have a player like say something to the fans before the game in the first game of the year. Zach LaVine said something. Whatever he said, it was just so like nonchalant and like
fans.
Like I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like I was
you guys have a
God,
great
this is not
season.
gonna go well.
Real quick, Michael Evans said that he's here during every live show during the season, but the 1:20 start time for us now is a little weird. But he's here.
Nice.
So thank you for joining us, Michael.
Thanks,
Well, we
Michael.
appreciate
you
it.
getting on as soon as you can.
Also-
You can always go back and watch the whole show, but
Yeah.
we do appreciate it.
You
joining
still
live.
watch it. You don't have to be like Barb, who only watches live.
Speaking of Barb, should we grade somebody
It's
in the
her
live
time.
chat in
We
the live
grading
YouTube
the
chat today?
Godmother.
We've done The Godfather, got 5 stars.
5
Is it
stars.
time for Barbara,
It is time to grade.
All right.
the godmother of the CHGO podcast? I don't remember what the criteria are anymore, but attendance is
Don't
one
let
of
the
them.
facts get in the way of a good story.
Attendance is one. She's got a lot of doctor's appointments at 83, but always here.
Always here.
Always here. Whether we're live or taped, she's here.
I do respect her
They're the 5
There you
scale attendance.
Die hard. I don't know if she's a die
I don't
hard.
know if Barb's a diehard, and I haven't seen a super chat.
Yeah, I've
Barb,
never
do you
seen
have
her
the
send a
merch?
super chat.
But I will
Does she have
say-
merch? I don't know.
She is funny and informed,
She
She is funny and
she
informed.
does agree with me.
about the diehard.
She never
one,
agrees with me. She
I
always
don't-
tells me I'm wrong.
I don't know that she's a diehard, but she always tells people to become a diehard. And she
do-
tells
does
people
she?
to go everywhere and use our things. She said she'll say something like, go get your gummies from Sunnyside and then walk over to Goose Island and put your
Yeah.
tab on Stucky, something like that.
Yeah. She is always telling
She's always
us
promoting
that Sucky's paying for everything.
Yeah.
Which that's the only part about Barb I don't like. Listen, at 83, if I can find YouTube,
That's
no
fair.
offense,
That's fair.
that's a 5-star fan right
5
there.
stars for finding YouTube.
5-star
and being
fan right
83.
there.
So we're going
I
with
know
5
I
stars?
couldn't.
I think
I'm
we're going-
surprised Luke can.
What's that? It must be
What?
Eagle Man.
Oh my God! What? How are we doing this?
I've got something
We were.
for you.
I told you, you got to look it up. It's on YouTube. It's
We
amazing.
were discussing.
That was for
Barb.
Barb. Barb got 5 stars. She gets the Eagle Man
5
She
commercial.
says she
5 for
deserves-
Barb.
Did she say she deserves an A?
She.
Yeah, Godfather's giving her a 5. They're the fellow
Yeah.
5 club.
All right.
Like,
Well,
Five-star
if your
club is not-
nickname,
that's an
if your
elite
nickname
group.
on the show is Godmother too, like
Yeah,
you get a 5.
5
you know,
star.
like she gets 5 stars, even though I think she's legitimately convinced that I'm the reason that the Cubs didn't sell and that I convinced Jed to call up Mervis. She says it in the chat
She does
every
say
show.
that.
And Barb says you should be a
I-
diehard and support their sponsors.
I also don't appreciate that she asked if I'm out of school yet and if someone can drive me because I don't have my license.
Yeah,
But
She's
So
gonna
she
be
has-
84
she has
November.
her-
It does
she
make me
has her
laugh.
trolls. It's like maybe she's just trolling.
It does make me laugh.
Wait a minute. What? Is
Her
that
birthday's
Thanksgiving?
coming up.
Is that Thanksgiving? November?
Oh yeah, is that?
No, it's Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving.
Even
okay.
better.
So
What
all
do we
of you
do
that
to
are thinking
celebrate
on
Barb's
Black
birthday?
Friday deals, what am I going to do? What deal should I get? Think of Barb, 84th birthday. Might want to get her something nice.
I'll be in line at Best Buy thinking about getting an iPad, and I'll be like, "Oh, I wonder
Maybe
what
Barb
Barb's
wants
doing
this
on her
iPad
birthday."
so she could get into the live YouTube chat faster.
Yeah.
Super quick. The poll has 34 votes in it, and it's 65 yes, 35% no.
right,
there you go.
So I think
Uh-oh.
that's the final chat verdict.
All right, at least most of us know what we're talking about.
Chris, really looking for his 5-star review. He might be the next one to get rated in the chat. I want to let you guys know for $4.99, when you guys start your podcast, I'm usually working, so I don't chat that much, but I super chat, and he's usually there. All right.
There you go. We love
Hey,
it.
that-
All right, Chris, I'll
That's
keep
nice.
that mentally in my head.
Yeah, he's moving his
think
way up the
it-
ladder. I'll tell you that
it's-
much.
It's hard to not want to give a 5-star to anyone watching this show here in the middle of October and
Right.
no Cubs baseball happening right now.
Right.
Because we
Unless it's a Sox
know-
fan that's infiltrated our
Right.
chat.
Like White Sox Tom, I haven't forgot you. All right. I like now once the World Series ends and then the hot stove starts to heat up.
Yeah.
I know there will be more people watching, but I'll always remember the ones who were here in October when all it was me being pissed off and we're doing grades. So it's very big of them to be here.
Yeah, the chat
Credit
gets
to them.
back 5 stars. Can they keep the streak going?
Can they keep the streak going?
Barb,
We'll see.
5-star, 2 5-stars. Can you pull up my Twitter real quick, Sarah? And my latest tweet.
What do you?
My latest tweet. It
Now
was
what are you
from Game
tweeting
2.
on
I'm going to show you how I helped, credit to me, how I helped the Cubs win their first World Series game since 1945. They were down 1-0, and I thought to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to turn
Oh,
this
wow,
sucker
this is-
around? How am I going to turn it around? You've
won't-
seen Corey Friedman try to throw
Up,
those dogs out
up,
at Wrigley
up.
Field where he's impressive.
Scroll up.
Another one.
No, a different-
past
a different
that one. No, the most recent one.
There you go.
There you go.
There it is.
The triple dog dare.
Triple dog dare.
All right.
Wow.
Grilled hot dogs, 3 of them covered in melted cheese and crumbled bacon.
Wonderful.
They won. You know when else I had that triple dog dare? Game 6 and 7.
Wow. Look at you. But not game 5.
Credit to you.
me. Big of
Credit
me.
to you.
Um.
Humble
Big
of
of
you
me.
to share with us.
Yeah. If you didn't.
Humble of me to share with you how I won the World Series for the Cubs by eating a total of 9 bacon cheese hot dogs.
It was almost like you did the 999 challenge.
That's
Steven.
right.
That's Steven's thing.
Yeah.
If you the 999 challenge, he'll do it right now.
He'll do it right now if you
yeah.
ask
If you're listening to us and not on YouTube, you should go
Yeah.
check
Do
it
you,
out.
do you
It's a
think
good looking
Steven
dog.
would eat
And you
that
get a
hot
young
dog
Luke.
that I just made, or is that not healthy enough? Would he
He'll eat
take
it.
the bun off and maybe
You'd
just
probably
eat?
take the bun
He'd eat
off.
it. He'd eat it for sure. All right.
Anyways, you know what would wash that down? Oh, sorry.
Can I
Cody,
just
yes.
say that credit to me, I helped you tweet a thread yesterday.
Did you ever? Wow, that was heavy lifting. Let me tell
And
you,
it's very humble of me to let the entire chat know.
it is humble of you for sure.
But if you ever want to wash down a hot dog, you should use a Goose Island beer.
You better believe it.
Whatever kind you want, use a Goose Island beer. Goose Island is the official beer of CHGO. Goose Island's been Chicago's beer since 1988. Their beer roster is stacked. Yeah, they got the Oktoberfest, the Beer Hug Family, 312 Wheat Ale, which is my favorite, and the Full Pocket Pills, which is Cody's beer of choice for beer bat chugging purposes.
It is the beer of choice, yes.
Oh, you don't have the end of this on here, Luke. All right.
You didn't put the call to action?
Yeah,
Oh,
put the
I
call
don't know
to
why
action.
The
that's
most
on there.
important part. You got to read the call to action.
We
Use the
gotta
call to
read the
action.
call
Look
to
it up.
action.
Check out that location.
There it is. That's what we were
Clybourne.
talking about.
Yeah,
The
we
location
go.
Yeah.
on Clybourne and Fulton Market
Yeah.
District.
Grab
Yeah.
Ultra
Oh,
Fresh
yeah.
Brewery exclusive beers at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer.
And I apologize to Craig. Craig is right. There are 3 5-star reviews
Yes.
on our live YouTube chat when he compared me as the Tom Brady.
And
of
he is
podcasting.
here every day. And
And he is a diehard.
he is a diehard.
And you should all sign up to be a CHGO diehard to get Ryan's premium written content throughout
yeah,
the
it's
off season,
coming.
during the season,
It's
allchgo.com. 20% off events, dope merch from all our teams. You get a free shirt when you sign up and 20% off all that dope merch all the time. And by the way, we got another tailgate coming up after that Thursday night football game. The last 2, we've had this great deal from X Golf, and it will be there again on Thursday night football for the tailgate, which right now is tentatively our last tailgate for the football season. X Golf giving away at that tailgate a $200 gift certificate to any of their Chicagoland locations. Find the X Golf nearest you at playxgolf.com/Chicagoland.
Another reason why
Carolina.
Barb gets 5 stars is because she thinks I'm this big, strong dude, because she's telling me I need to take Corey to the gym. But the
Right.
thing is that we always comment about how Ryan is the one who is the gym guy of this podcast.
Yes.
I do work out, and I do pretty well in the bench press, but that's not my thing. That's definitely
Right.
Ryan's.
That's definitely
But
my
credit to Barb for thinking that. So she gets
Just
credit
that's
to Barb.
another reason why she gets 5 stars, because she thinks I can bench press really well. So.
Discredit to Barb.
We got to go. We
Yeah.
did, but we started talking hot dogs. We got a little off track. All right. We'll see
hose,
you
man.
next Monday for the next live show
Corey and
at
Brendan
1:20.
tomorrow.
Brendan and Corey, 1:20 tomorrow. It's taped, Barb. It's taped, but
Won't be
it's
live.
just as good. Until then, thanks for watching and fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.